welcome to Okon Bros. This is Eric.
And I am Michael.
Today we have on Tristan Haggard. Tristan is a YouTuber. He's a trailblazer, a real-life community builder. With his wife, he helps run Primal Edge Health, which focuses on keto, carnivore, and natural lifestyle living.
And
Thank you
absolutely
for coming on.
hammering the vegan and globalist community. And we are so thrilled to have you on, Tristan. Thank you.
Gentlemen, yeah, it's an honor to be here. I really appreciate you guys contacting me. And it's great to connect.
Huge fans of your content. So, like, you
I have to know.
I
have to know, like,
very
you're
excited
living like a fantasy of mine that I don't know if I would ever have the guts or the balls to actually pull off. But like, you were in California. I don't know whether it was like LA or wherever, but like, you were in California and then you moved to Ecuador. Like, how did you do that? How did you come up with that?
Did you get the balls to move to Ecuador?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of it's a funny story to tell because there's so much. I don't know. We were at a major junction in our lives, at a major crossroads. When I say we, I mean my wife Jessica and I. Like, we both finished university, graduated from one of the most overtly like liberal universities in the world, University of California, Santa Cruz. And this was 2009, I think. 2008, 2009 was when we finished at the university. And we were kind of at a crossroads. Like, are we going to go for more education? I was thinking about becoming either a naturopath or a chiropractor. Jessica was looking at a similar career path. We had both become interested in health, in the idea of using diet and lifestyle to achieve better performance as far as health goes, not from a place of like athleticism for me, but more of coming from a place of a health deficit, right? Just, chronic illness growing up, asthma, allergies. And we decided, instead of going back to school, that we were going to do something else. I didn't like the idea of going into debt for the next 10 to 30 years in order to pay the university system that I was very disillusioned with, that I had experienced a lot of just a lot of disappointing encounters with professors who had shown themselves to be complete ideologues and essentially just intellectually castrated whores for the UC system. Like, the UC Regents is so notoriously corrupt. The amount of pharmaceutical money, big tech money that flows through the university system keeps it within these ideological confines of the climate crisis is going to destroy us all. I remember back in 2009 we had there was the IPCC scandal, the International Panel on Climate Change at the UN, had this ClimateGate scandal where it was revealed through internal documents that they were falsifying data and essentially lying to the people of the planet, the people of the world, in order to freak us out about so-called global warming, climate change is what it's been pivoted to now. So that was going on. I saw no recognition among the university staff and the biology department. In fact, it was quite the opposite. Bringing that up would result in scoffing and mocking from these supposedly enlightened sages of science at the university system. So I didn't find it very scientific at all. And it turned out it looked to me like we were looking at a just revolutionary institution that was destroying the minds of the generation that just happens to be going through the university meat grinder at the moment. So I mean, just seeing like all the gender studies stuff and a lot of this stuff was really picking up steam in like the mid 2000s, 2005, 2006, 7, 8, 9. Obama gets elected to the presidency, and the area I lived in, people were crying in the streets. There was a parade, and it seemed so weird to me. Everything seemed so strange.
Where did you go? Where were you living at that time?
I was living in Santa Cruz, California at that time. So
that's southern or northern California?
It's like middle. It's it's not as north. It's south. It's an hour south of San Francisco, right? Okay. About an hour and 15 minutes depending on traffic. South of San Francisco. It's like at the southern tip of Silicon Valley, right? So Santa Cruz, Monterey Bay.
Why Ecuador though? Like, why not Nashville? Or why not like Austin? Like, why would you go all the way south?
All right, so I'm trying to give it like a little bit of context as far as the election of the election of Obama, right? And then you had I was kind of into the idea of libertarianism at the time, so we were trying to get Ron Paul on the ballot, and it was kind of a similar time, 2008. was 2008 to 2010, not very dissimilar to like 2016, but inverted in some ways. Like the 2008 election really brought in a lot of this, like the media started pumping a lot of the race war, like stir the pot type narrative. You saw a lot of like, oh, if you don't like Obama, then you're a racist. We started seeing this stuff, and it was just obvious the direction it was going. We became involved in pushing for Ron Paul to get on the Republican ticket. Realized that not only, it was obvious the Democratic Party was incredibly corrupt, the Republican Party also, but I mean, we just saw at the ground level in Santa Cruz County how corrupt local politics were, as far as trying to get some friends elected to city council. We just saw how fake and how influenced the entire system was. We came to the conclusion that America was not worth fighting for. The ideas of the liberal democracy, it didn't seem like I wanted to stick around. I didn't see a bright future in staying and in digging in our heels in the sand and trying to fight for the ideals of America that we didn't necessarily agree with fundamentally at that point. So it was kind of a crumbling of my whole reality in certain ways, right? Like we saw where this was going. The Obamacare thing was being the Affordable Care Act, they called it, which is essentially a government takeover of all healthcare. And at this point we're looking at it like, okay, so the federal government is going to have all our health records, knowing that California was taking blood samples from every child born in the 80s and 90s and keeping those DNA samples. Now we have this bloated bureaucracy run by, transnational banks, big banking interests, pharmaceutical companies, insurance companies, solidifying this structure of a monopoly over medical care. And they're also pushing, remember swine flu? The swine flu thing was happening at the same time. So it was just looking like the things that we see right now happening. I thought this was going to be 2012. I thought we would see this 8 years ago, kind of.
Right.
It ramped up slowly, but yeah, it was essentially, I didn't feel like being in this battle, and it didn't seem like it was fruitful.
You're not surprised as how the pandemic went, so to speak.
No, not at all. I thought this was going to be 2010 because they started, remember the swine flu thing? They were talking about this back then, pushing the idea of, well, should these be mandatory? Are your children, I remember CNN reporters, there was this like 2010 CNN piece about, should your children belong to the state? Like, your children don't belong to you. They actually belong to the collective and to the state. Therefore, if your children are not going to follow the happy, healthy injection schedule that's recommended by big pharma and insurance companies, then maybe the state should take them away from you. So this stuff was already being talked about 10 years ago. And I don't know, I didn't think it was hard to tell when this stuff would be coming, but it didn't seem like a place that I wanted to be. And we ended up visiting Ecuador. And I wanted to live in a rural area, right? Like, I wanted to live someplace where we would have clean air, clean water, and be able to kind of live a lifestyle where we could produce our own food, not have too much, government regulations in the way of doing simple little things like building a chicken coop or something like that. And we came down here and we fell in love with it. The people, the culture at the time, it was different, right? This was before smartphones. Smartphones came in about 6-7 years ago in 2013, started getting really intense, and it's changed a lot. But at the time, it seemed like a place where it was kind of like going back 50 years in certain regards. Like, it just, the cultural zeitgeist hadn't advanced as far here. Families were living in, you'd have 3 generations living in a single home and property and working together and producing their own food. We wanted to be able to produce a significant amount of our own food and be able to source good quality foods locally. And good animal foods here are really prevalent, especially up in like the Campo, up in the mountains. There's no such thing as like industrial feedlot for cattle and stuff here. So a lot of that played into it. Clean water, clean air, clean culture. And we fell in love, and we said, you know what, let's do it. Let's make it happen. We had no idea how long we would be here. We ended up getting a 6-month visa.
Don't come back. Don't come back. Please.
I came back one time to visit family. When Jessica was pregnant, we came back to visit family and to tie up some loose ends back in like 2011. But I haven't been in the U.S. I haven't stepped foot in the U.S. since 2011.
I can't believe that.
But I still get to pay taxes. That's one of the good things. You still get to pay plenty of taxes if you're an expat.
Really?
Unless you renounce your citizenship, you're paying.
Are you going to do that?
Is that next?
Yeah.
Well, it gets complicated there because the U.S. passport is pretty valuable as far as the
Right.
ability to move
Okay.
places. I don't see Ecuador as like some ultimate refuge from all the issues of the world. Like, there's no place there's nowhere you're gonna get away from the issues of globalization, the issues of, the cruelty and evil and the greed and jealousy in the human heart. There's no place to get away from that stuff. But for us, we really like it here, and we'll stick it out here. We'll fight for our little piece.
How did you get? I don't know where you are in Ecuador, but how do you have such good internet?
We got fiber. Well, this is the beauty of of this new order we have now. There, even during the pandemic when everything was shut down, there was a flurry of fiber optic laying throughout the whole country. Yeah, because
How do you like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's convenient for me, but knowing the bigger picture of kind of where this is going towards as far as the push for digital education, like they shut down the school system here in Ecuador, and it's all digital now. So they want all the kids they want every child to have a phone and a surveillance device
Right.
Wow.
right there on them. So yeah, that's what it's moving toward. The fiber optic network, it works, it's useful, it's nice for me. But knowing the long-term plan of digitizing everything, and the world, the Great Reset, as World Economic Forum calls it now, it's it's a two-sided sword.
We just interviewed Ivor Cummins, and literally the same thing that you just said, the Great Reset.
Yeah.
And it's not that it's hidden; it's in plain sight.
That's the thing. We've been talking about this for a few years now, and suddenly it's out in the open, right? The things that we were saying were things I was telling my family were going to happen 10, 12 years ago, right? And some of my friends and family were like, no, that's nonsense. That's crazy. There's no way that happened. A lot of these same people are now, oh yeah, no, we need to do that because of the climate crisis and COVID. It's like, I told you this 12 years ago that you were going to be pushed to pay taxes on your exhalations, taxes on your carbon. You're going to be pushed towards everything being controlled digitally, all digital currency. And you said that's BS, but now 10 years later, it's, oh no, we obviously have to do that because there's a virus and because the climate's changing.
Tristan, you're prophetic, man. I mean, like, so what's the next 5 years going to be? If this has happened, like,
because just for your frame of reference, we're capitalists. We own a business, a travel business, nonetheless, and
we own a global car service. Our parents started a global car service 50 years ago in New York, and our father passed away 3 years ago. And Eric and I were brought up into the business, and this is what we do. I'm also a writer. I write books, and I want to mention, shameless plug, this book Monsterland is about the end of the world and about how corporations made us all into pigs captured in a theme park.
I think that's a beautiful. I mean, I've been saying a similar thing. Like they want us all to live in Disneyland. They want to create this Disneyland society where you're just being perpetually masturbated by machines, and your dopamine centers are being hit, and it's just everything. It's total control of every aspect of biology. It's not just about like, oh well, we're gonna have to track people. Maybe we'll start to put RFID chips on livestock. It's RFID chips on every device you've got.
Your blender,
exactly. It's biological monitoring devices implanted in us with external sensors to send information constantly to insurance companies and governments, which will be run by insurance companies and big international finance. And it's not just about, well, let's get a little bit more control. It's not just about, oh yeah, maybe we need like a single governing body. No, it's global governance over every aspect of life, including the carbon cycle, the water cycle, and what they consider us human resources at this point. So I don't think I'm like prophetic in any ways. I just, a lot of people there've been a lot of great researchers who pointed me in the right direction over the years. And I think there are a lot of people who've been studying this, a lot of people who've been asking questions like about this stuff. All of us probably have since we were children, which is why we're not that surprised when we see this stuff. But your question of what do we see, what's coming for the next 5 years? If anybody wants to read this book, The COVID-19, The Great Reset by Klaus Schwab, the World Economic Forum have laid it out. And it's essentially the closing of all brick and mortar mom and pop stores. It's the reintegration. It's the complete shutdown of everything, and a dusting of the former way of life as we know it, including all Western values, says the World Economic Forum. Now, what do they mean by Western values? I don't know. They said Western values will be pushed to the limit, will have been pushed to the limit. And which new values will be brought in? They're not so sure. But Klaus Schwab, who was born in Nazi Germany, who is an international technocrat, kind of middleman for these billionaires who meet at the World Economic Forum in Davos with the heads of state, military industrial complex kingpins, with international finance, with the insurance companies, and with all these transnational corporations at Davos every single year. And they plot out exactly what they have coming. And these people are open about it. They want a new, what they call fourth industrial revolution. Fourth industrial revolution is about digitization.
That's what Ivor said recently. The fourth industrial revolution. Please continue, please.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's what it is. Fourth industrial revolution, which means surveillance and monitoring devices everywhere. The backbone of this Internet of Things, right? The backbone of the Internet of Things is of course the new millimeter wave telecommunications system. The fifth generation telecommunications
5G.
system.
Yeah.
Exactly. So this is the backbone of it. This is required for this rollout. And there are multiple applications for this fifth generation wireless system that uses millimeter waves. Anybody can look up the many patents for millimeter waves as active denial system weaponry. These were used back in Iraq. This is stuff people were talking about this back in 2008, 2009, when the smart meter system started getting rolled out, right? Another reason why we decided, you know what, the US might not be the best place to be. We were seeing the smart meters get rolled out all over Northern California, Southern California, all over. And this was being sold to us as part of the new Internet of Things that would be part of this new fourth industrial revolution, and that would help usher in what they were calling sustainable development. So this all ties into the UN sustainability goals, which there are 17 sustainable development goals, including gender equality, financial equity for everybody, equal access to medical care for everybody, right? Inclusion, digital inclusion, meaning everybody's online. Digital currency, right? And governance of all resources, of the flow of all resources. So we're looking at for the next 5-10 years until the next benchmark year, which is 2030, that these technocrats have earmarked for as a major epoch, a major kind of a technological nexus point in this epoch is 2030. And the goal is a complete overhaul of the way we live, a complete overhaul of not just the way we live, but the way that we see ourselves and our place in the universe, right? That's the most important thing, is programming human beings to accept this, to think that this is normal, that this is a new normal. And this is part of a social engineering campaign that goes far beyond just the World Economic Forum, right? The World Economic Forum was founded recently by Klaus Schwab. Excuse me. Sorry, Bill Gates. Recently, Klaus Schwab started this World Economic Forum, but you see the ideological underpinnings of this and the scaffolding that it's built upon in the writings of guys like Aldous Huxley and his brother Julian Huxley, who helped start UNESCO and also the World Wildlife Fund. Julian Huxley helped to start the World Wildlife Fund. Now, Julian Huxley actually coined the term transhumanism in his book on UNESCO. My friend Jay Dyer did a great episode on YouTube about this, about Julian Huxley's work with UNESCO and the history of this multi-generational eugenics family, the Huxleys. So you could find these writings in, you could look at Brave New World Revisited, in which Aldous Huxley says that this is the model that the technocrats want to give us for the world. You could listen to the speech that he gave at Berkeley, at UC Berkeley in 1968, where he essentially tells these Berkeley students that, yes, this is what we're doing, and you're all too stupid to understand this, which is why you must submit to it, and ultimately you will all be just completely enslaved by your desires, and you'll get everything you want in this great false utopia that's given you by technocrats. So you've got Julian Huxley, Aldous Huxley. H.G. Wells wrote about this in his nonfiction books. He wrote a book called The New World Order. He wrote another one called The Open Conspiracy. And both of these are about the creation of an international government using, a lot of these people are kind of utilitarians, right? A lot of people say, well, look, these are fascists or these are communists, but there's no real ideological divide between the two. It's about raw power for these people, and it's about control of resources, and ultimately in their ideology,
Tristan,
it's about
book, I'm telling you, it's about the New World Order. I'm not joking, and it's done through a Disneyland type. There are monsters all over the world, and this guy named Dr. Vincent Conrad gathers up all the monsters and creates a theme park called Monsterland and puts these theme parks all around the country. I don't want to give away the ending, but in the end, he captures the world. He literally captures the world. He captures the world, and and the monsters are being used to capture the humans. Everything goes down. The internet, the Wi-Fi, everything goes down, and he is running the world because of these theme parks.
Was that a reference to Joseph Conrad, the name?
Yes, pretty much.
Nice.
Yeah,
that was an interesting. The Heart of Darkness was.
Yes.
I read that.
I was an English major in college, and I didn't have the, my college wasn't as like left as like, as California, but seeing today, I was talking in a Hofstra University wanted me, because I'm a writer. I was talking in this class about publishing and writing and everything, and there was a young girl there. She was 18 years old, and I gave her my journey about being a writer, and anyone could be a writer. It was very uplifting and spiritual and positive, and she attacked me. I mean, like with two fists.
Because like privilege or something? Like
yes. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, no, it'd be privilege along the lines of like, you're too Hollywood for us. We're more, it's like, how did my story offend you? The idea that everyone's getting offended today. Do you think is it because of diet? Is it because of social media? Why is everyone so on edge about
this culture? That's a good question. That's a really hard one to answer, right? But I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say we've been engineered to be this way. And when you look at the way that the school system has been run, the way I was born in 1987, right? So, I went to school in the 90s. When I was in 7th grade, Columbine happened. And I remember that was a major turning point. The next major turning point after Columbine was this, September 11th, 2001.
Yep.
But this gradual rollout of a nanny state, of the idea of being constantly monitored by electronic devices, this was taught to us as children. When I was in elementary school, we didn't have cameras, right? Once I get to middle school, 7th grade, Columbine, well, we got to get security cameras on all these children in every school, right? So that became that. And then it was, well, we're going to have to check some of your backpacks, right? We might have to do random backpack checks to see if people are bringing weapons or drugs in. Then it became by the end of 7th grade, we had police coming in with drug dogs sniffing us all down like we're criminals.
So are you saying that these worldwide shifting things that happen, Columbine or 9/11 or the pandemic,
the Great Recession,
the recession, are you saying that these are manufactured, or are they just using them?
I mean, it could be either way. I say with a lot of these events, it becomes almost impossible to tell because of the nature of psychological warfare. I mean, it's kind of easy to confuse an enemy by you throw out a few fake stories. You could even stage an event to draw some attention. There's a lot of different ways that you can distract people from what you want to distract them from and get them to look in the direction you want them to look in. But I'd say regardless of the reality of some of these events, regardless of the questions about some of these events, like when you look at Columbine, for instance, and you do some research into who the psychiatrists were that these boys were going to, that were giving them drugs, and the connections to intelligence agencies, the connections to human experimentation stuff. So there are strange connections, but that doesn't mean that, there are a lot of people that go, it's like, oh, well, everything's fake. The people start to see the deception in the world, and then it just like the reality breaks, and then it just becomes, oh, all the world is fake. Everybody's either, everyone's in this great conspiracy against me. But it's a lot. I think it's more of these things happen. I think we're looking at less of, part of it is human machinations, and part of it is long-term social engineering, human planners. And when you read things like, Klaus Schwab, when you read publications from like the Rockefeller Foundation, published this one in what year was this one? 1972, Population in the American Future, the report of the Commission on Population Growth in the American Future. This is the Rockefeller Foundation. When you read a lot of these white papers and publications that these organizations have put out there in the open, you realize, yeah, there are long-term social engineering plans to shift human perception, to shift human consciousness. And I think one of the best examples of this that anybody can pick up, anybody can get this PDF online right now. Stanford Research Institute released a publication called The Changing Images of Man. And this was, I think, in 78 or maybe 75 that this was published, kind of like exoterically. But this is, Joseph Campbell helped to work on this. And Changing Images of Man was all about how can we shift man's perception of himself and his perception of the cosmos in order to essentially control him, in order to engineer society for peace and freedom, right? So it's always cloaked in this talk of like the Rockefellers always talk about the free market, right? Oh, the free market, the free market. Well, the free market to them was monopoly, gangster cronyism. So these people, they'll use these ideologies in a pragmatic way as a utilitarian way to get what they want. So I think a lot of these events could be manipulated, could be staged, could be this. That doesn't really matter, though. What's important is what they're used to justify. And they've been used to justify more surveillance of each other, surveillance of each other's thoughts, right? Like I remember another one of these things that happened with this new surveillance state in the nanny state around the time when I was in 7th, 8th grade is the idea of the potential mass shooter, right? Like any child, like if there's a kid at school and he's wearing, hey, if he wears black clothes and listens to Insane Clown Posse, he's probably going to blow something up one day. He's probably going to, freak out and try to kill a bunch of kids. It was this idea of pre-crime started coming around, and the idea of like peer mentors and stuff. They started introducing this stupid stuff when I was in middle school too. Like you get in an argument with somebody and then you go to the peer mentors, and it's just like a group of your peers and they try to act like counselors, and we just make a mockery of it and make up fake grievances and go to the peer mentors and like do theater for them and stuff. But these ideas of like all of us watching what each other are thinking, watching each other's behavior, and the snitch society, it got taught to my generation in the schools, and that was a major part of it. And of course, you have mass media as well, and the dissemination of imagery and trauma through mass media is another one of these tools for breaking us down.
Do you believe in the afterlife? Do you believe in spirituality, afterlife? You do believe in the afterlife?
Absolutely. So I believe that this is not just a physical matter. It's not, I'm sorry. I'm all over the place. I was trying to get to this point earlier. I don't think it's just like,
I apologize if I kind of messed you up there. If you want to continue.
Oh no, I'm just spouting out, man. I'm like a high pressure 4-inch pipe that just has a few leaks and it just goes everywhere. So yeah, I'll land this one. It's not just human machinations. It's not just Machiavellian human desire for power. It goes beyond this into the spiritual realm, and I think what we're looking at is it's a spiritual battle, and that's why people start looking at this stuff, and a lot of people start going nuts. Like when they first come in contact with the idea of like, oh, maybe some of these things I've been told were a lie. They start looking at like, I don't know, JFK assassination or something like that, and that leads them down this thing, and then it becomes like, oh, well, and everything is fake. Everything must be a lie, and it can kind of lead people into psychological breakdown.
Do you know when I realized that? I apologize for interrupting. I love listening to you talk, but I realized exactly what you just said with diet. Mm-hmm. We were told to eat low fat. We followed the food pyramid. Our mother got thyroid cancer. Our father got lung cancer from smoking, whatever. I mean, that's not really food stuff. But when Eric and I found keto, and we found keto 8 years ago, Eric lost 100 pounds. I lost 50.
What?
We kept, yeah, dude. That's us.
I saw this picture before, dude. 100 pounds. That's crazy. You guys look like twins there. That's funny.
I got 5 years on the kid. I'm 42. Eric is 37.
Dang. Eric had a rough childhood. Sorry, Eric. No,
he did. It's the truth. But the idea that like in 20, but I said like, I'm sorry, Eric, but like science always said eat whole wheat bread, right? Yeah. Science always said eat the vegetables. And I was asthmatic, and I had sinus infections, and I was sick, and I got fatty liver. I didn't eat McDonald's. I didn't drink Coca-Cola growing up. Like I was eating pasta with vegetables and turkey because it was low fat, and I was sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker until I found keto. So the establishment, I feel, got it wrong with food with Ansel Keys. Now,
Yeah.
listen, I want to hear from vegans. I want to hear from vegetarians. I want to hear from carnivores. I want to hear from keto. We are the path that Eric and I followed. We're not propagating this to our listeners, but what worked for Eric and I may not work for other people. I found that
it might work for a lot of other people too.
That's very true.
That's true.
Very true. But like I figured we were lied to about food, and it started with food. That whole wheat bread, science told us to eat it because it's low fat and there's low cholesterol. Well, the cholesterol like kind of helped us.
So
right?
that brings me to Primal Edge Health.
Yeah.
And is that your business? Is that your company?
Yeah. Well, that's the name of our website. Is the name of my YouTube channel as well. However much longer that's allowed to stay up, but that came about.
What does that mean? Hold on. What does that mean?
What was that bomb you just dropped on us, Tristan?
Well, I know, just like YouTube is just. It seems like there's a massive purge going on right now, and
really,
my channel's been like YouTube's. There's another round of. It's going to get more intense with the election too. I'm not like an overtly political channel, but I think anybody that there are certain. There's parts of the internet that are being cleansed right now of certain influences, and I think YouTube has been pretty obviously pushing pretty hard against. And it's not just my channel. A lot of channels in the same niche as mine that hit on similar topics have been hit with kind of what you call shadow banning type things, where I get people telling me that they've been unsubscribed 5-6 times from my channel and had to keep resubscribing.
Really?
Yeah. They try to watch my videos and it just buffers forever and it's impossible to watch it unless they like pull up Firefox at a private window. And I don't know exactly what the mechanism of all these things are, but it seems like there's some major manipulation going on. And our channel's growth has been stopped since 2019 in like September. We hit 130,000 subs, and seemed like there was some sort of a ad apocalypse. I think it was about the same time where there was another purge, and we just stopped getting recommended in the algorithm. I think it was like a 60% drop in video recommendations by YouTube. So they kind of shelved some of the channels, and I'm concerned for just getting fully deplatformed from YouTube. It doesn't mean I'm gonna stop putting out content. Yeah, it's like until it happens, I'll keep pushing forward. But yeah, it seems inevitable for a lot of our channels.
That's disheartening because like we're trying to build an audience on YouTube. That's what we're trying to do.
Don't stop trying.
No, we're not. It's just, I guess it's really anything. Listen, our business was destroyed due to COVID. There are certain things that you have to kind of figure out a way around.
Yeah.
We want to interview people. I want to. I mean, I was so thrilled we got you on the show, but I don't want to alienate YouTube. I mean, this is we had on also Frank Tufano. I know that you guys have your spats, but Frank's a local New York guy. I find his stuff entertaining, and I said, Frankie, come on, I'd love to hear your story. And he said that he stopped. He hit 100,000 subs. And he's not.
You see, it's a lot of people. The people have told me like just other channels around it. And Sean Baker, for instance, Sean Baker can't even do. You can't do Instagram Live anymore. They just took away, it just took the button away from him. So now he can't go live on Instagram. I couldn't go live on Instagram for months. It would just cut off after like 3 minutes of me being live, and it would just keep cutting out like that. So
why is this?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of speculation, and it's going to be all speculation essentially. But YouTube doesn't have to tell anybody why. Their terms of service basically allow them to remove anybody for any reason. And it's a really important time right now as far as social engineering goes. They want to shut down any opposition voices to these bigger agendas, and those bigger agendas are Fourth Industrial Revolution, global governance, and the bringing about of global carbon taxes and a technocracy globally that will be tracking and tracing everything we do. So it's about controlling the dialogue. And it doesn't matter. It's not like I'm important or something. It's not like I'm I have the magic words, and if I say them and people hear them, it's like the world's going to be healed, and they're just keeping me down because no, it's not like that. It's algorithmically determined. It's like you could have a mechanism for an algorithm that will crawl all YouTube channels and look for certain keywords. Certain topics. They make influence maps where it's like, oh, you talk to this person, who talked to this person, who talked to this person, therefore you're literally Hitler. There's things that they've done as far as the whole SJW censorship culture that have reached into the internals of these social media companies. And I think we're seeing with the hearings at the Senate hearings yesterday or the day before, which were just, I don't know, kind of dog and pony show. But you do see the recognition that these big tech companies have huge power. They have massive amounts of power.
So your growth was exponential and then it basically stopped. So are you still getting subscribers, or is it not? You're not.
No, it's negative every month. They remove every subscriber that subscribes, they'll remove like 3. So we get like negative 600 subscribers a month. But before, we were getting 2,000 to 3,000 new subscribers every month throughout the year of 2019. Massive growth. And then it just kaput.
So is there anything that you can do about that?
Or cut my wiener off, maybe? No, it's like maybe if I come out as Tristina and Tristina the vegan. I don't know. I just
are vegans. Hold on. So are vegans experiencing that too?
Health. I think health channels in general are being hit. I think it's it's across the health niche, and but there are certain. All right. So there are Google is heavily invested in plant-based meat and fake meat and lab-grown meat. Alphabet, the parent company of Google, is also a member, along with Google and YouTube, of the World Business Council for Sustainable Development, that are pushing for planetary dietary guidelines that exclude meat. So, I have been talking about these things for a long time and pushing against the investors of, the people who own the platform that I'm putting content out on are investing in the opposition that wants to destroy my way of life and ban my way of life. So that could have something to do with it. But it's all just speculation, really.
Right.
All I can do is just roll with it and keep, I got to get the links out there so I can get some reach by getting the links out on Instagram. And if people like and share, that can get the stuff out there. But
are you on TikTok?
It's just TikTok. No, I refuse. I haven't downloaded TikTok.
You won't do it?
No.
They'll eat up your content. Don't do it to consume. Do it to distribute.
I just don't like I don't know. This surveillance stuff freaks me out, man. I know TikTok it's a sketchy one, but you get to like dance and stuff, right?
But no,
it's not even about that. It's your lifestyle. I think people would really dig, and because it is interesting, because like it's what I've dreamed of doing, but I don't have the balls to do it. Where like TikTok would just try it.
Can you stop the surveillance though, Tristan? I mean, you're in Ecuador. Do you feel that do you have an iPhone? Do you have an Android phone, or do you like?
I just keep them off.
Do you do smokestacks? To communicate. It's like
I'm not. It's not like I'm. I hate this argument. Oh, if you got nothing to hide. If you got nothing to hide.
Oh, I wasn't asking that. I wasn't asking.
No, I know you're not. I'm just like, the conversation you have with you start to talk about, well, hey, all these phones can monitor everything you're doing, including a lot of the new ones, your vital signs. The ones with LiDAR can 3D map your entire environment. The iPhone 12, all these new iPads are going to have LiDAR enabled. I've got friends in Silicon Valley that are working on these types of things, and they show me the videos of these cars that are doing LiDAR, these things you drive around. They got this little beacon in the back of it. It's LiDAR. And they've got this other one that's like radar, and they're 3D mapping everything with this stuff. So, I mean, these things are everywhere. It's ubiquitous. I don't think that you can get away from the surveillance, but you're damn sure. I'm damn sure to be covering up any cameras in any rooms, right? Because you don't know who's popping through those cameras and looking at your kids. You don't know who's popping through those cameras and checking out what you and your wife are doing in your downtime. These things are all hackable. Just a simple look at the Hunter Biden laptop stuff. When you look at some of these photos that are disgusting, and I would suggest not looking at these photos of Hunter Biden. But the strange thing is, when you look at them, it shows the interface of the Apple phone as if he is in the camera program, but isn't recording and isn't taking pictures. When you take a picture, it doesn't show the little dot at the bottom with the options on so. This seems like this may have been taken using some sort of a screen recording technology and a backdoor into his devices. Maybe he was, doing a Skype call with somebody, and then you have somebody recording this for blackmail purposes.
That's definitely happens, because there'll be certain days where I'll use my phone all day and my battery will be at 75% at the end of the day. And then there'll be days where I'm not using my phone, and by noon it'll be at 19%.
That's strange.
So add that up.
So then I'm going to ask the question. So what the fuck do we have to worry about, right? So like,
Yeah.
I pay my taxes. I'm making ground chicken tonight for my wife with some bacon and sausage on the side. Like, so like, well, I mean, you know,
who cares, right? I'm
right.
not doing anything illegal.
I have selfie pics in my phone of me on my weight loss journey. So if someone's going to hack my phone, they're going to see my big fat fucking hairy body looking, you know, like, so like that, you know, I took the pictures and saying, okay, so this was 230, this was 225, this is so like, the question I have to you is, what's the point of even worrying now? Because you're in Ecuador and you're still being tracked, right? If anything, I'm
exactly.
like, Eric and I would move to fucking Ecuador and be like, all right, we're done. Like, we're off the grid. We're not being hacked. They still know what you're doing.
Yeah, man. No, there's no like escaping, you know, the whole thing is ridiculous, right? It's like, yeah, obviously, you know, transparency. I don't care. Like, I'm a very transparent person. I got nothing to hide. The problem is these are used for behavioral control. They're not used for stopping crimes. The crimes are being redefined constantly, and it's thought crime now, right? The UK Parliament, I saw this article today about reporting wrongthink within the party. I think it was like the Labour Party in the UK, talking about we should be reporting each other for private conversations that we had. And if somebody says something in a private conversation, you should report them. If you're sitting at the dinner table and your dad says something racist, you should support him. You can lose social credit points, right? So it's all going towards social credit system. The way they want to push this is everything is tracked and traced and quantified by central control systems and what they're going to call artificial intelligence, which is a catchword and a social engineering term for programmed algorithms that human beings program. They're fucking algorithms. These are ones and zeros that are programmed. This is not, they're trying to sell you on this like this is God, right? AI, it's artificial intelligence. And one day it's going to become self-aware and we're going to put it inside of your bodies and it's going to give you superpowers. Yeah. It's ridiculous. It's like, you're going to live forever. No. These are AI is human programmed binary code algorithm execution algorithms. Like this it's not something that is alive. So they want to use that AI tracking system to eventually create a social credit system, much like it's being beta tested in China with the help of big tech, with the help of Google, who create the infrastructure for the human extermination systems for the communist Chinese government. These same big corporations are the ones who want to advertise to us, who want to nudge us and use what they call behavioral nudging and just weaponized anthropology, weaponized sociology in order to get us to behave like these social engineers want. So it's not just about, well, who cares if somebody sees me pee, right? No, it's about these people want to give you electroshock therapy remotely using electronic devices if you have the wrong thought. They want to control our vital signs. They want to measure our vital signs constantly, which is what all the temperature check stuff is all about, which is why the mask, getting us to wear a mask all the time, eventually it's going to transition to VR goggles because they want us to be walking around with not maybe VR goggles or implants that will allow a digital interface of what they call augmented reality. Well, you'll be able to look over at your brother Eric and see that he's a good global citizen because he has a a level 68 social credit score, which will allow him to eat meat once a year and listen to, as long as he listens to 80 hours a week of binaural beats that the government gives him to keep him happy, right? It's like it's going to be behavioral programming, and Bill Gates and Microsoft. Did you guys see this patent like W02020666 or whatever it is for monitoring? It was cryptocurrency awarded to people using wearable devices that were monitoring their vital signs, and this is a patent from Microsoft that came out back in like April or May, right as the COVID stuff started coming out. So that's the model, right? It's like wearable devices, tracked and traced everything, and you get social credits according to you biologically responding correctly to the right stimulus. So they'll put a picture of Tristan up, and if you get the right stress response from seeing the bad bald man, then you will get social credits, and you can see just what a Pandora's box we're opening here of training people like dogs, especially. It's like Pavlovian response training. It's like Pavlov meets Isaac Asimov. Is what we're going
That's
towards.
in my book too, Tristan. The only the thing that we fight our industry on, again, we own a global car service, which again has been decimated by this virus. Like they all say, self-driving cars are going to change the world. We're going to be out of business. Uber's going to come in and take over the universe. Uber's technology, you know who Uber is, right? I'm assuming they have.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
We don't have it here, but in the city, like in the major cities, there is.
All right. So Uber's going to come in and they're going to give self-driving cars. They're going to put all these drivers out of business. The whole 9 yards. Blah blah. Google had Waymo, this self-driving car bullshit.
Yeah.
And it's selling science fiction. It's not real. And it's listen, will there be self-driving cars? Maybe in a feature.
It's going to look more like it's going to look more like trolleys and trams, though. It's not going to be like
it's going to be self-isolated routes, college campuses going down Fifth
There's
Avenue.
a circle track, just like in Disneyland. There's a circle track, and you have you're driving the car because it's just you in there, and you tell it, "Hey, go and stop here." But there's no like, we're going to go off road.
But my point is here. My point is here is that, like, all right, Uber got billions in funding because they said self-driving cars the future, and they shammed it. It was a Ponzi scheme. Uber was they scammed their investors. So
scammed the drivers, right? They scammed the drivers to destroy their own jobs
every day. There's a reason why there wasn't an Uber before Uber. There's a reason why there were taxis in place, because it was actually pretty regulated.
So my point is that they're going to come out with these self-driving cars. You're going to be going 80 miles an hour and the car is going to malfunction because it has to do a reset, or it's going to buffer and it can't brake because there's a pizza delivery boy. So there's a billion factors when going from point A to point B in a car.
Yeah.
So if they can't figure out self-driving cars, what makes you think that this technology is bulletproof, that they're going to still be able to track us? If that does that make any sense? That, like,
absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like, is this, there's no going back.
There's so much human error at every point, every node in the system, every neuron in the network has the potential for human error.
Right.
And it's hubris. I mean, so really it's like this demonic drive to be God. And that's what I really see this as. It's like man wants to declare that God is dead, and then sit upon God's throne and say, "No, I'm God now because look at my great intellect. Look at this. I know how everything should be." And I think that's what we're looking at here is actually you're looking at people who believe that they are superior to the rest of humanity by nature and virtue of their superior germplasm. These are eugenicists who believe that their multi-generational inbred families are somehow superior because they have this, great knowledge that they've passed down to each other. But it's all just pathetic manipulation that their great knowledge is. It's like ritual traumatization of children. And look how powerful our children are after we, traumatize them in these rituals, and we're going to give them superpowers. Look at my little Tiger Woods. Look at Michael Jackson. We created a superstar here, but they're just ritually traumatizing these children like monsters. And those are lower level. It's not like Joe Jackson is part of the elite, but those ideas that you see that child stars go through, that traumatic experience, the traumatic childhood that they go through, that gives them this kind of almost demonic power of, they usually end up channeling it into like sexuality, like with Miley Cyrus and stuff. But sports stars like Tiger Woods, pop stars like Michael Jackson, these are children who were raised in a way that their parents were consciously trying to do something to create a certain type of being. And these people who have set this up, like if you look at the history of the Darwin family and the Wedgwood family and the Huxley families, these were intermarrying with each other and cousins marrying cousins because they believed that they were these superior beings. And they have the right, because in their worldview of Darwinian evolution, they're at the tip of the spear. And really their only morality in evolution is power, right? It's the will to power. It's that Nietzschean concept of the Übermensch that these people are trying to build through this technology. And it's about eugenics and dysgenics, and there's no real limits to it. And it's this insane need to control everything. So I think the self-driving cars, AI is going to be your new God, all these things, these are you're being given a new mythology. And just like
yes, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. It's just something new to worship that may not necessarily happen.
Absolutely.
Do you believe in
Absolutely.
do you believe in evolution? Because I read I'm
No.
a big conspiracy theorist. I'm a writer, and in order to write good stories, you kind of have to be a conspiracy theorist. And I
Yeah.
love the idea that yeah, JFK, the magic bullet. I love reading about the flat Earth. Do I believe the Earth is flat? No, but like it sounds amazing, right? It just sounds so cool that like we're in a dome, the whole 9 yards. My
Yeah.
question to you is, do you think that like do you think that all of it's real and they're trying to suppress the information, right? That the conspiracies are like, yeah, or maybe we are living on a flat earth and human evolution never existed, that we were created by a high almighty spiritual being, and we want to
Mm.
suppress this information knowing that you have unlimited power, that you
Well, this is really, yeah, this is really important, man. And these are the questions. I mean, I'm like you. Like I used to be obsessed with. I used to think I was going to be a writer. I wanted to.
you should write.
Which have you
You
ever written?
should.
Yeah, I've written, but I focused on other things for the last like 10 years because I thought these were better mediums for reaching more people because no one can read anymore. But I was obsessed
Very
with
true.
like PKD, like Philip K. Dick was one of my favorite
Yeah,
kind of
dude.
pulp
Yep.
writers.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
you know, like the penultimate truth where everybody's living underground and they believe that there's been this crazy nuclear war and they can't go above the ground. But then by the end of the novel, you realize that it was all a lie and the elite are actually living above ground and they have these great lives, but they're keeping the plebs to just, you know, work in little ant factories underground.
Yes,
These
dude.
concepts to me have always fascinated me. So yes, I think it's really important for us to look at that, you know, have a mental dexterity and fluidity and be able to entertain different possibilities. And this is what police investigators are doing. This is what detectives, that's their whole job, is to find possible narratives that would explain these results and then explore these and question and ask, and through questioning and through the exploration and through the kind of the detective work to figure out what's going on. So I love that. I think it's important. I do believe that there is a lot more going on here than we're given on the surface. And I mean, as far as like, do I believe in the theory of evolution? My personal opinion on this is I think the theory of evolution is a dehumanizing ideology that has been given to us by sick, psychopathic people.
Wow.
And it's not a scientific theory. When you look at the theory of evolution, it is based on a mountain of unjustifiable, untestable, unscientific assumptions about the past, the future, and what we see now. So I think evolution is an unscientific theory. It is a philosophical framework and it is a moral theory, and it informs people on how they should behave in the world. And guess what it informs them they should do? It informs them, tells us that we're just beasts and we just evolved through random chance in
Birth to death. Birth to
exactly.
death. Birth to death.
Yeah.
There's nothing
You
beyond
die
that.
and you're going to be consumed, and you're just going to,
Right.
and your carbon is just going to be consumed by other animals. And one day, there's that Modest Mouse lyric. It's like one day, someday you'll die, and one day, someday you will die, and something will consume your carbon. Right? It's like, and that's the ideology they give us. You're just physical. You're just a monkey, and therefore, there are going to be other human monkeys who are more evolved towards the next stage of evolution, right? So there are going to be those who are less evolved and those who are more evolved. So it's essentially an ideology that justifies racism, that justifies the superiority of certain bloodlines.
Darwin was a racist. Darwin was a racist.
His book was called
Yes.
The title of the book was On the Origin of Species Through Natural Selection of the Preferred Races. That was it. The words preferred races was taken out of it.
Yeah,
you're not going to see it. Yes.
Yeah,
he was a racist.
He was a racist, and he didn't like a certain.
You know,
I don't want to say what it is, but
you know what I liken it to with all of this. I believe in what I see. I don't know what happened 100 years ago. Frankly, we could have an interview with you now, and it can be recorded, and you can have 5 different opinions on what happened. So let alone everyone's opinions on what they think happened many years ago.
Favorite era?
I try not to focus on what I don't know. I focus on exactly what's happening right now. And I've had miracles happen, and I've had divine things happen, and I've spoken to my dead father many, many times. And so I take those cues on what I should believe in. I don't know whether the earth is round. I don't know whether the earth is flat. All I know is that I'm standing here. It doesn't feel like I'm spinning, but I honestly have no idea. Right?
And I want to mention, I mean, basically what Eric said, I lost my train of thought because it's exactly how I feel, that we really don't know. We have communicated with our father. The idea that the Big Bang, that's what I want to talk about. The Big Bang, explosions destroy things. Explosions
We
don't
don't know what
create life.
happened.
But no one knows what happened.
That's a creation myth without a creator. The Big Bang, it's total pseudoscience, and it was invented by a Jesuit. This was given to you by a Jesuit. So this was created by a Jesuit scholar, and it's an idea that was trying to reconcile Darwinian evolution with Genesis, and it's complete hogwash. Like this whole thing of, oh well, we know that the Big Bang happened because look at the static when you turn on your TV and the cable's plugged out and you see the static. That's the white noise from the beginning of the universe. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, that's the white noise from the beginning of the universe. That all these assumptions are so ridiculous.
The evolution. I would love to get on a scientist because I don't understand this stuff. If we evolved, if species evolved, if animals evolved, wouldn't we have found 1,000 types of alligators and birds?
Oh, we should find transition. There's not a single transition species for any of these things. Why does a caterpillar evolve to transmute into a butterfly? What's the evolution? And you could look at anything and it's just like, oh, well, you did that. That's an adaptation because of survival. He needed to survive, so he made that adaptation. It's circular reasoning and survival of the fittest, right? And how do you know who the fittest is? Well, the fittest survive. You know it's survival of the fittest, and the fittest are determined by who survives. So if I kill every male and keep around a select harem of the most, as Dr. Strangelove, the most sexually, we must sexually select all of our the women. And if we just select all the hottest women, kill all the dudes, then I win evolution. This is the ideology that they're giving. It's not based on observation. Nobody has ever observed the transmutation of species. They're taking variation, which nobody, wouldn't deny that there is variation. And there is variation that happens in concert with environmental change. But you're never going to see a pig evolve into a dog. You're never going to see.
Well, we would have found it already. You would have found it already.
Just give me proof. Put me in a rocket, which I will never go into outer space, and I want, like, you know what I mean? Like let's, but that's so far off of what's available to any one of us.
And so, like, rather than looking at the real life problems of now, like we have so many diseases, so many chronic diseases, that there are many therapies for a lot of these chronic diseases. I mean, diabetes, for instance. A low carbohydrate approach has been used to effectively treat type 2 diabetes really quickly. I mean, you guys have experienced like the amazing fat loss that you can get just from lifestyle changes, dietary changes. So we have all these issues that we can explore using real legitimate science that doesn't require us to assume that if we measure the carbon-14 in this rock, that it's going to tell us that it's 14 billion years old. Like, happy birthday, happy 14.8 billion years, universe. It's been a great ride. It's like there's so much pseudoscience in this that it's disheartening to see how many people just blindly fall into this. Like, oh, we must believe in evolution because the experts do. So, and it's well, okay, yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish your thought.
I was just saying, well, the experts are just like us. They're human beings who are flawed and not omnipotent, and none of them have observed evolution.
So I wanted to touch a little bit on diet here. Primal Edge Health. Keto, what is your ethos regarding your diet mentality and whatnot?
I know you're not a soy boy. I can tell you that much.
Try not to be. You might catch me on the wrong morning. I might be a little emotional if you catch me on the wrong day. But all right. So we started Primal Edge Health. The YouTube channel and the website came later. I started the YouTube channel in like 2014. Maybe been the end of 2013, sometime around then, right? 7 or so years ago. And I had gotten interested in a ketogenic approach for fat loss. I've been doing intermittent fasting and I really enjoyed it. It helped me to lose some body fat. My hormones felt a little better. I enjoyed the feeling of that fasted state. Yeah. So I started exploring that. Why do I feel better before I have a meal? And then when I have a meal, I'm kind of crashing, feeling a little bit tired. So then that was like a gateway drug to the idea of ketosis, right? So the ketogenic diet kind of came on the scene. It was around before that, but it started getting a little bit of traction and attention when like Dr. Dominic D'Agostino started publishing some of his research. So I became interested in it. I had to tried out a ketogenic diet, and I loved it. I felt so much better. It seemed like my memory functioned better. I felt less anxious. Not that I felt very anxious before. I just felt more calm. I just felt kind of in a soothed state, and it felt like I was in that fasted state all day, which is, a lot of people call it a fasting mimicking diet. So, I enjoyed it a lot, started putting out content, teaching people how to do it. There wasn't a lot of stuff out there on YouTube. There was just, the only channel I remember was Stephanie Keto Person was around at the time. And she was kind of like the lone voice on YouTube talking about keto. And we started promoting that and teaching people how to do it, and built the website over the last like 6 years, and ended up experimenting later with a full-on carnivorous diet. There was a lot of people were talking about, we got into the idea of health. Let me back it up a little bit too.
Right.
We got into the idea of low carbohydrate diets and the importance of fats kind of due to necessity, because our daughter had dental caries, and she was a year old.
What is that? Just
dental decay, like their teeth. Kids' teeth just start like rotting out. So she was a year old, and we noticed that her teeth just were like turned into powder. And we were just on our normal omnivorous diet. We would eat meat, we would eat eggs, but we didn't eat that much meat. We weren't like trying to crush a ton of butter. We weren't trying to give our daughter things like liver and stuff, but her teeth started being affected by dental caries. And when you start to do some research online, most the dentists will blame the mother, and they'll say it's because you're breastfeeding, and the child's teeth it's because of the milk. Your milk has sugar in it, and that's bad, and you're bad for breastfeeding, which is insane, because people have been breastfeeding. People weren't brushing their children's teeth a few hundred years ago. Believe it or not, we didn't have fluoride fortified toothpaste 200 years ago, and a lot of these cultures where people live, they didn't have dental caries. So in trying to fix our daughter's teeth, we came upon Weston A. Price's book back in 2013, the end of 2013. We read Nutrition and Physical Degeneration. We started implementing a lot of these concepts that Weston Price had talked about in his book, and that's the importance of fat-soluble vitamins, the importance of good quality, fresh animal foods, the importance of things like vitamin D, vitamin A, vitamin K2. So we started giving our daughter cod liver oil, butter, liver. We started making bone broth all the time. We started eating a lot more fatty animal foods. And our daughter's teeth hardened up. Like within a couple months of having liver and lots of grass-fed butter and cod liver oil and just a lot of animal foods, her teeth got like the dentin layer solidified, and they were just like a little bit brown. And now she's got her adult teeth, and they're perfectly healthy and no issues at all. It's crazy, right? Our son, who never had any dental caries at all, he's our second child. He was raised on the same foods that we eat. He doesn't do keto or carnivore, but they eat lots of animal foods, animal fats, and then fruit, honey, stuff like that. And no issues with his teeth. So that was the introduction to fat, right? Like it was like, okay, there's something to this fat, and then that opened the door to like, oh, well, what if we just eat a whole bunch of fat and we don't eat a lot of carbohydrates? And that was the keto thing. So, it was a crazy time, and it freaked us out, and it was so frightening, but it ended up being a blessing in disguise. This kind of the terrible thing that happened to our daughter's teeth, and she hasn't suffered for it at all. She's totally healthy, and we're stoked on that. So that led us into it.
So carnivore, are you still carnivore now?
I'd say, all right, so this morning, what I had so far, I had some raw milk, which I guess if you're doing like a strict carnivore diet, it's going to be basically meat and salt for most people, right? People who are having an autoimmune condition, you're going to be eating nothing but meat. The way we teach it, we tell people to eat organ meats, eat nose to tail, but it's going to be just meat and like water, basically. That's a fully carnivorous diet. Now I do kind of like a modified diet. I had about 2 years of full-on carnivorous diet. It was really beneficial for my gut health. It helped me with a lot of things, but I always recommend people, add in foods here and there and see what you can handle, and eat the foods that you can digest and what you function on best. So my diet looks more like a cyclical ketogenic diet, where some months I might be full keto, and then other months I'm drinking lots of raw milk. I might have honey. We've got bees, so we do beekeeping, and we get fresh raw honey here. We've got cows, so I do a lot of my diet is like fresh raw dairy, right? Or a lot of my diet looks like raw cheese, raw milk, some yogurt, honey, and beef, sheep, mutton, like lamb and stuff, and fat, and some fruit. I had some bananas this week, and I like papaya. There's some fruits that I'll have, but yeah, it's like 90% animal foods.
I was carnivore for 4 years.
Militant.
Literally, you know, I didn't eat dairy. I was meat and water for 4 years, and it suited me really nicely. But then I feel like my gut changed, and for lack of a better description, I started having very loose bowels.
All of a sudden, like
it was a gradual buildup, but like I stuck it out for a year. You know what I mean? Like, oh, it must be normal because like the carnivore is the best way of eating. And then finally I'm like, you know, what happens if I eat a sweet potato? And sure enough, like, you know, I stopped peeing out of my ass. And then, but like, what was stopping me from doing that was because as someone who was 100 pounds heavier, I was terrified of gaining weight. And
I use this to lose that weight. If I eat some carbs, I'm just going to balloon up again. I won't be able to handle it.
Yep.
I'm here to tell you,
I lost more weight.
There you go.
So maybe it was a process. 2012 for about 4 years, I was keto. Then I was carnivore, and just this year, beginning of this year, I basically started eating paleo. I have Brazil nuts. I have sweet potato. I'll eat hearts of palm, and it's very obviously very heavy meat based. But you know, I go to the bathroom fine, and that was the one thing I was looking to quit. Oh, that was the one thing I was looking to fix. But obviously everyone's mileage may vary, right? You know, I mean, personally, it's hard to come by raw dairy, which I'm so jealous that you have.
You're in New York, right? New York's a pain in the butt for that.
Yeah,
it's the heavy cream or nothing, and we just eliminated it completely. Are you familiar with Endpoint testing, Tristan? Endpoint allergy testing?
No, I'm familiar with a lot of these allergy tests that clients tell me, oh yeah, I took this test and it told me I'm allergic to all these foods, but they're the foods I digest the best. I've seen all these different versions of these food allergy tests, and most of them I find I'm skeptical of most of them. But what is the Endpoint test?
Eric, tell the story.
Endpoint allergy testing is basically my daughter. She was born globally apraxic. So globally apraxic means that there's like a disconnect between her brain and her mouth and her movements. So everything that she was taught had to be pulled out of her. So, you know, to learn how to crawl, move your knee this way. To learn how to talk, prompting with your hand on her mouth. Wow. So what else happened is she was basically just born compromised, and every day is a battle to get her up to speed, and she's way better than she was, and she's, for all intents and purposes, a normal 10-year-old girl now. You know, with some speech delays, but you know, it's intense.
They started her on keto.
She had a thyroid issue, so you know, started her on keto. The doctor wanted to put her on Synthroid right away, but I digress. So she has a lot of allergies, allergic to dairy, eggs, peanuts, tree nuts, seeds, mustard, and chickpeas.
So she's like almost carnivore by necessity, right?
Yes. So we started doing endpoint allergy testing, and endpoint allergy testing is basically we go to a naturopath doctor for our children, and we go to for us too. So they're going to inject in your arm, like right underneath your skin, a 10 out of 10 on egg, and you're going to either have a reaction or you won't. Then they're going to do 9 out of 10. 8 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10. And they can go down to microscopic amounts, so diluted versions of milk. And then until you don't react. And then they create a nose spray with all the foods and mold and tree and grass. And then they create a nose spray and you inject it into your nose twice a day.
I'm on it as well.
Yeah. And it's supposed to desensitize you. Whether or not it works or not, we're going to find out, because
Michael, you mentioned you had like allergies and asthma as a child,
100%.
Right? Like what did you notice when you do the treatments?
So I hated springs and falls in New York. I hated the spring, I hated the fall, and every winter I was just sick. I would get the flu shot like a good little citizen, and I was getting the flu shot, and I was sick from the minute I get the flu shot to by the time I was able to lay out in the sun. And I got the flu this past January, and I got the flu shot. My daughter came home with the flu. She gave it to me, and I vowed to myself, I am never getting the flu shot again, and I'm not. So I started seeing a naturopath, and I went through the endpoint allergy testing. I'm now 10 months in. I'm on vitamin D. I'm on fish oil. I'm on supplements because the food on Long Island, I'm not going to be able to eat the food that's in Ecuador. I'm sure if I was in Ecuador, I wouldn't be on these supplements I'm on. But I was carnivore also with Eric. I have not gotten a sinus infection in 10 months. Granted, I'm not around as many people, but the environmental nasal spray, and I tested really high for molds, mycotoxins.
And oddly enough, my daughter basically has reacted to almost every single food, including beef.
Same
including beef, including chicken. And my theory on it is that it's because of what those animals are eating. So the quality of what the
corn and the soy,
they're obviously, whatever they're fed, that's what my daughter is reacting to, because she is allergic to dairy and soy. And I also want to say, for the record, my son too. So it's a process to get them healthy again. But I just started Endpoint allergy testing, and I was a 3 with egg. So according to the chart, I can have eggs, 2 days a week.
But when you're on the spray, when you're on the nasal spray, from what I understand, there's no limit to what you could eat. But when I eat eggs, I was getting headaches. I was getting sinus infections, not really sinus infections, but these killer headaches right over here. So I eliminated egg. I don't get the headaches anymore. So carnivore helped. Carnivore definitely helped with, I wasn't getting sore throats, but I still wasn't at my optimal that I felt. Now that I'm just like you, man. I'm cyclical. I'm more cyclical like every other week, where like I'll go and I'll eat. I tested off the charts for sugar. I tested off the charts for coconut. So like there's the keto foods. See, I go on Amazon. I think those keto products are bullshit.
Most of them are terrible.
The coconut based bars, all that stuff. That shit's not real. So
are you raising
allulose and all these like weird sugar things? Like erythritol, I can handle the erythritol. A lot of people handle that all right, but like allulose and xylitol, a lot of the xylitol can kill dogs. I mean, a lot of these, you gotta be careful. If your dog eats a bunch of xylitol, it can kill their liver.
You said you had allergies. Well, do you find it better eating the foods you're on, and do you find it better in Ecuador as opposed to California?
Always changing. So I get seasonal allergies no matter where I'm at. I react to pollens for grass, right? When grasses throw out their seed, I'm just like, my face blows up, my nose dams up, and I'm mouth breathing for days.
Yep.
This year, I've actually seen a major shift. I've been doing tons of raw dairy, tons of raw milk.
Really?
Right. And like I'm drinking, sometimes 4 liters of raw milk a day, depending on the day. Like I try to. There are days when I eat nothing but food that comes from here, which will be, some eggs and dairy, and we don't butcher our own beef cattle. Yeah, we don't butcher our own cattle. We use them for milk. We don't have enough space to grow them for meat. Although I have a bull that I'm renting land for and pasturing somewhere else. So and it's a pain in the butt to butcher a massive animal like that. So we get our beef from our friend who butchers for us. And a lot of the food I eat comes from right here. I find that with keto and carnivore, it seemed to improve my autoimmune type responses to environmental toxins and allergies a bit, but it didn't get rid of, just sensitivities to pollen and stuff like that.
That's exactly right. You may listen, I don't know who could do this in Ecuador, but I know by leaps and bounds that this fall, I'm outside, even in the spring when I was taking the spray, I definitely feel different. Still get the drip, still get the congestion, not what it was. So someone from an asthma and allergy guy, I haven't taken my asthma spray in a long ass time. This endpoint testing, I got a guy in Long Island. I don't know if he's a counterpart in Ecuador, but something you might want to look into, man, because it definitely helps. It'll get you to that level that you can tolerate the pollen. That's the point of endpoint allergy.
Well, I'm feeling what you're saying, because it's like this year. What's crazy is this year, and I've been in Ecuador 10 years. Wow. In 2 days would be like the day we landed here 10 years ago, and it's getting better every year. But this year seems to be like the least disturbance in the transition periods. Now it's usually, we have 2 seasons. We got a dry season and a rainy season. And the rainy season, everything starts blooming. It's just, there's life, there's growth everywhere. It's beautiful. But there's also, there's molds, mildews, fungus, stuff like that you get exposed to. So in those transition periods in between the seasons, I used to get really intense allergies. But I found that we're transitioning into the wet season right now. Most of the dry season, I was totally fine. At the very beginning of the dry season, my nose got a little dammed up when all this grass here, this Yaragua grass we have, it throws out like a seed that's almost microscopic, tiny little seed. It's really irritable. I got a little bit of sneezes from that, little sniffles from that for a couple of weeks, but Man, this year I have to say it's been the best allergy
Good for
year
you, man.
that I've had. So thank God, I've been feeling good. And my
Tristan,
children don't seem to deal with it like I did. So I
I
think that's
want
an interesting.
I want to talk about homeschooling and that, but I want to ask you a question. Did you used to get strep throat as a kid?
No, my brother had tubes in his ears. My sister also had tubes in her ears,
Did
but
you
I
used to
would
get ear
get
infections?
I'd get ear infections and I would get
All right.
sinus, like I would get undiagnosed sinus infections, just like yellow green snot globules. And my
Take,
nose never fully opened. Like my nasal cavity, my brother had polyps removed. And
yep.
so it's like, it's not, it
Damn.
just doesn't work in there.
Listen, take it for what it's worth. I'm going to send you a video. We're seeing a naturopath doctor, but he
Mhm.
follows this guy, Dr. Jonathan Wright. Dr. Jonathan Wright has a clinic in Tacoma, Washington, in the U.S. And he
Okay.
says anyone who's had strep throat, and my doctor expounded in saying anyone who's had ear infections and strep throat
Hmm.
has a dairy allergy. I gave
Mm.
up dairy this year. Now, listen, your dairy is probably not my dairy, right? Like right
Uh,
now, like I won't eat dairy because of the drips and the congestion and the sore throats and everything. But you may want to look into that. I'll send you the video, man. But it's on YouTube. Dr.
for
Jonathan Wright
sure.
with dairy allergy and strep throat, because they say
Yeah.
it's all
It's crazy. Like
all
I
connected.
did 6 years, no dairy. Or no, it was like 2013. It was 2013, end of
Yeah.
2013 to 14, 15, 16. I did like 4 years, zero dairy at
Yeah.
all. And I do better. Like I'm doing way better now with tons of raw dairy.
Really?
Yeah, it's weird. I think, what's interesting? I think there's a big difference in, obviously raw and pasteurized dairy. Now
Right.
there is a big difference there
Oh
with the
yeah.
bioavailability, right? You've got
Absolutely.
the living enzymes like lactase is in the raw dairy, so you break it down. But did you know that they use eggs and casein as in a lot of the vaccinations, right? Like the egg, those are
Yes.
ingredients in a lot of these
Yeah.
vaccinations. So
Very aware of that. What are your thoughts on Jonas Vonderplanitz?
I think he had a lot of great ideas, and I know people who knew him and said he was a great guy, and he helped a lot of people out. I think he was on to something pretty profound there and important with a focus on animal foods, minimal processing. I think all raw is kind of ridiculous, but hey, if people want to do it and they're getting help from it and they're building their health from it, I think it's fantastic. So I really appreciate the work he did. He met an untimely early end, and I know people who knew him, and I've heard nothing but incredibly positive things from the people that did know him. So it's yeah,
What he says, it just sounds so accurate, right? Like I know Spherage is kind of like he's the new Adonis.
Not quite.
I mean, listen,
But
he's pushing
he's
the,
doing some crazy stuff in Romania. I don't know what he's doing over there.
yeah, but like the idea that there was no such thing as a microwave a few hundred years ago. Like there was no such thing. Everyone was just eating raw meat, and like
yeah, but that's not true. The raw meat thing, it's like we've been using fire and fermentation, right? Like I think
that's very
I
true.
I don't like the primitivism, like the idea of like, oh, we're going to go back to our like the way that our ancestors lived. I think that's all based on speculation. So I tend to be kind of critical of that. But
Okay.
but I know I think when you look at take for instance Weston A. Price's work, where he was looking
Love it.
at healthy
Love it.
cultures all over. They all ate kind of a combination. Some of them ate raw, some of them ate. They all ate some raw
Yep.
and some minimally cooked, and then some cooked. And even the Inuit, they would boil their meat. They would eat some raw. They eat like liver raw, depending on the context. But it was, I think, I think it can have benefits. But like, I've done a few days where I ate all raw meat, and it was kind of enjoyable. But I like me even if you have a good thick steak. Don't judge me, but I'll go medium rare on that good thick steak every once in a while, and it's nice. Like I like me a
It
rare
is.
steak or blue
Yeah.
rare if it's got a crust, but man, medium rare does something special. Like a roast that's medium rare is really nice.
Yeah, totally.
ribeye.
I just feel
Yeah.
like what I've come to learn is that there is no right answer, and ultimately you do have to do what's good for you.
Yeah.
Because and then above all else, no one's gonna live forever, right?
It's
No
absolutely true.
one's escaped it yet.
Tristan, homeschooling. So I am a huge proponent of homeschooling. Our children are home now because, like You say we're good little citizens.
Mandatory homeschooling.
Right, mandatory homeschooling, but
Pretty
I'm
much.
happy. I'm happy they're home. I like that they're home. I like that they're
How do you deal with
in
that
our
in
house.
Ecuador?
Yeah. How do you deal with that?
Well, we've been doing it. We're homeschool hipsters. We did it before it was cool, right? No, we were homeschooling when it was only on vinyl. I don't know. To me, my experience in the school system was, I mean, I referenced it earlier. I saw it as a dehumanizing institution that was completely ridiculous. It's basically internment camps for young people while the parents are both forced to go and work and the women are competing with the men. I'm really critical of all this. A lot of the, I don't know, a lot of modernity, I think, is completely ridiculous and dehumanizing. So I think the school system, as we look at it, as we see it today, it was created as a utopian revolutionary thing. Like, it was always meant to be this social engineering institution. And you could read a lot of John Taylor Gatto has a lot of good work on the education system. So I suggest anybody who wants to look at some of the potent critiques on the modern education system, especially in the West. John Taylor Gatto, Gatto, has some good books and good critiques and lectures on it. We didn't want to put our children through that. When you see the things that they're teaching children now, it's so ridiculous. It's not about equipping children to thrive and give them useful skills. It's about turning them into, it's about socializing them. It's a socialization process, not in not meaning socialize them as in help them to be good social beings and have good social relations with those around them. No, it's like making them uniform. It's about standardizing people. And I'm very critical of it. I think it's a terrible system. The way it works is it's not about really educating. It's about breaking down the psyche of these children and turning them into repetitive automatons. So
what are they teaching them though? Like my kids, my kids are learning the same exact thing I learned. My kids are going to the same school system that I went to. And like my son comes to me and my son is like, Dad, I would drop school tomorrow. I would come work with you and we would create a podcast or whatever the case. Like,
right.
What he goes, what do I need this for? What do I need the division,
exactly.
the algebra? What's the point of it?
The basic things that you need to learn, things like critical thinking, reading comprehension, grammar, punctuation, basic math. Like, these are all things that can be taught in the home with, it's not that hard to teach your children these basic things. How much of the school day, especially once you get to high school, is just downtime, right? You get 10 minutes, 15 minutes in between each class. You walk into the class, everybody's chit-chatting for the first 10 minutes until the teacher screams and tells everyone to shut up and listen. Then there's, 20-minute filler at the beginning of the class. You might do some, pre-prepared worksheet or something, or you read a poem and analyze it together, and then you're gone to lunch. Right. And then lunch is an hour and you come back. I mean, it's like, man, my high school days were we had open campus, so we could just leave school whenever we wanted to. I would just take a bathroom pass and go to my car and then come back at the end of the period. So it was, there's so much downtime. There's such a waste of energy, resources, and time in the school system. And, for me, it just seemed like these are things that we should be teaching our children at home. And I don't want all the extra baggage of you're going to teach my children about how many genders there are and, try and gaslight them into thinking that, we're all, maybe I'm a boy, maybe my daughter's a boy, or maybe little Timmy wants to be vegan to save the planet. It's like, you don't need all this social engineering stuff. And there's also the thing of what the other children in this class are teaching your kids. I mean, it's not just your kids are learning terrible things from the state, but I mean, they're thrown in a room with 30 other children whose parents are teaching them God knows what. There's some little turds in some of these classrooms,
So what's the future that you want for your kids?
The ability to produce their own food, ability to critically think, the ability to say no, and the historical literacy, right? And really the most important things to us are our faith in God and the strength to say no to the nonsense and the bullshit in the world. So we want to teach our children to be truly powerful people and we're building little warriors. That's what we're building. We're building little warriors to continue this battle that we're fighting. That's what we want them for.
Do they only know Ecuador? Were they born in the U.S.?
They're born here.
It's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this
Yeah,
is their world.
Yeah, they were both born in the house we lived in previously, and they're stoked to be in the place we're at now, where we've got our own animals. We finally got to our little homestead here, a little small family farm, and yeah, they wake up, they have chores, they take care of the chickens with us, they take care of the sheep with us, they help with all the projects we're doing, and they, we're just kind of teaching them responsibility and work ethic, poco a poco, you say here, but it's been a process that's both very rewarding and at times difficult, right? There's like boundaries when we work at home, right? Like we were already working at home, and then all this COVID stuff happened. It's like, I feel for people that are forced into it. It's not easy. So suddenly you have to homeschool, and one or both parents are working from home. I mean, this is a full-on assault on families and the family structure, as well as small family businesses, all this COVID lockdown stuff. So I feel for people, and but yeah, we enjoy it, and we've learned a lot over the last 8 years of doing this, and we just take it one step at a time, right? Like we take it one day at a time, and try to schedule things out as far as their education and getting the materials together and planning. But it's really rewarding.
You ever consider making a YouTube channel that's like focused around your family?
Not anymore. No, there's too many weirdos.
Yeah,
like it's just I get threats all the time and stuff. So
do you really? How do you handle the detractors? I mean, you piss off a lot of people. I could tell. Yeah. I mean, like, what do you do?
They make alt accounts. Like, you never can stop it. You just got to realize it's going to keep coming. And part of it, I take it in stride. I take it as like, they're almost like victory landmarks for me. It's like, look, some of these people have lost the plot so much. And when I'm talking about some of these people, if you're not familiar with my channel, I go really hard against the vegan movement, this idea of pushing plant-based diets on everybody. That's been really popularized recently by the World Economic Forum. The UN is behind all this stuff as well. I've been pushing back against this stuff. And, we get a lot of detractors, a lot of people that just straight up hate me, and they'll make 10 alt accounts to try and DM me hate messages. And I don't know. I take it as
the amount of time that they would put in to do that is pretty unbelievable.
But also it's an indication of, it's like, look, this is your activism, right? These are people who want to destroy my way of life, right? These are people that want to ban animal husbandry, that say I'm a murderer because I might eat some chickens, right? It's like these are people who say that eggs are murder, but unborn human babies are just clumps of cells to be eliminated and eradicated. So it's like, to me, it's just, there's no greater compliment than to be hated by pure evil. So I don't mind that. I don't mind when they spend all their energy and time trying to character assassinate me, because it just shows they've lost the plot. I thought it was about the animals. I thought it was about changing the world and saving the animals. Yet you're so worried about trying to paint me as some, monster, bigot, terrible person. That's fine. I'm honored. And if they want to spend their time trying to character assassinate me rather than organizing and going and terrorizing small family farms, which is what they were doing until the lockdowns happened, I'm fine with that, vegan activists. So we'll keep pushing back. I'm not. They're not. It's not like any of these threats are serious. It's just like, you start a family style channel. It's just about family, and I don't know. There's things that are just for me. There's things that are just for us, and I think it can cheapen, like, I don't know, these IRL vloggers and stuff, and people that they become like a caricature and they lose themselves in the stuff. So it's like, I do my streams. I like to do the streams. I like the format of doing a live stream and having conversations and doing even open lines and call-ins and doing commentary and comedy. I like that format better than editing videos. Also because you can edit a video and spend a lot of time and energy editing the video, and then it gets no traction and no one sees it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. That's why we use StreamYard, because I fucked up at the beginning of this, with the wrong intro. So I'm gonna have like 3 seconds of editing to do, and then I can upload it. But
how often do you live stream, Tristan?
3 to 4 times, sometimes 5 a week. I mean, I do it depending on how I feel and what else comes up in the schedule. So it's like, if I do a live stream, it's not like I've got I have to stream this day and this day and this day. It's like, I've got 1,000 other things going on, and I try and fit them in when I can. And so I try to get in 3 to 4, sometimes 5 a week, depending on the circumstances. Sometimes I get over it and just like take a week off. But yeah, I'm gonna do a stream tonight. I think the last one I did Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, or maybe just Monday and Tuesday. So probably 4, 5 this week.
That's amazing.
Well,
man.
Tristan, you're certainly living the dream. I mean, I am jealous, and I don't know if we're capable of escaping the rat race like you did.
Hey man, none of us are going to escape the rat race. Like I still wake up and work my butt off from sun up to sundown.
Well, yeah, no one said that you're not working. I know you're working your ass off, but just like leaving this circus.
Leaving Long Island, just,
I could, like I said, Long Island and Ecuador is very different, but there's, I think people look and, yes, we got a beautiful landscape here. It's real peaceful. It's nice. They're rural places where people can live, whether you're in the U.S., South America, wherever you're at. Right. There are a lot of beautiful rural places where one could live. Now I know there, career paths, and if you got a job in the city and that's your income, it's really hard to leave. But when we moved here, we didn't have a long-term plan. We didn't know what we wanted to do. Like we got involved. We were doing like import and export stuff with food, and we didn't know that we would end up here long-term. And we just dove into it. We dove head first, and we knew that there was a possibility that we could fail. But sure. Yeah, I think if I would advise people, if you enjoy what we've done, if you do admire it, if you want that, and you can handle the possible struggle that it's going to be to get there, just go for it. Right? It's like there's no roadmap. Like you're not going to be 100% sure that you'll be able to make it. You're never going to be 100% sure no matter what you do. But I think it's just really important to, I'm all about just diving in. So we dove in head first to all this, and we just kind of, learning by immersion. So throw yourself in the deep end and see what happens.
Tristan, you have a fascinating story. You seriously should write a book. Seriously, really and truly, your journey is, and like, that's what Eric and I want to learn about, was your journey. Really fascinating. Yeah. You're a wealth of knowledge. Really, you're an interesting guy. I wish you would come to Long Island so we can go out for lunch one day or go out for dinner.
If I ever find myself up there, if you ever find yourself down here,
if we ever gonna listen, yes, if we're in Ecuador, it's not even a question. You're our first call.
You gotta bring me a copy of that book too.
Listen, if email me your address, I'll send you. I've written 20 books. So
nice. Wow.
Yeah, but send me your address and I'll send it down to you guys. And our mom is a children's author. She wrote 80 children's books. So how old are your kids?
Oh, that's so cool. 8 and 4.
8 and 4. Oh yeah, those were the books that she wrote.
We're gonna send you a care package. We'll send you a care package of books.
An Okon Bros care package. Tristan, thank you. Where can people find you? Please plug away with your channel and all that good stuff.
All right, you guys can find me at primaledgehealth.com, YouTube Primal Edge Health, and then Instagram also Primal Edge Health. I'm on Twitter as @Tristan Haggard, and yeah, that's it. I think those are the best avenues to find me. If you could find me on those places before you can only find me on OnlyFans. So, no, I'm kidding. You will never find me on OnlyFans. I promise.
Tristan in the jungle. I like it.
Tristan, thanks a lot. Everybody, like, subscribe, leave comments. Go visit Primal Edge Health. This Tristan, he knows what he's talking about. Really, Tristan, thanks for coming on, man. Grateful. Hang out 1 second.
Yeah, hang out 1 second. I'm going to play the outro.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Ciao.